Special welcome to those who are joining us online from all over Africa and the rest of the world. I think I've shared a few ground rules. The moment we start, please, you won't be able to leave the room. So I hope you had the opportunity to empty your bowels before coming, so, because you're stuck here, right? But if we have a very special situation, I'm sure we can help you out and get you out of the room. We will kick off shortly. You've seen the hashtag, feel free to tweet, feel free to take pictures. But I think without further ado, I'm gonna call on a very special somebody, Professor Chris Ugbeche, the Dean of Lagos Business School, to kick us off. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is my utmost pleasure to welcome you all to this prestigious Youth and Innovation Forum on Advancing Africa, Unleashing the Power of Youth in Science and Innovation. Today, we gather here with a shared purpose to explore the limitless potential of our youth and harness their abilities to drive Africa's transformation. It is my pleasure to extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed guests who requires no introduction, Mr. Bill Gates, the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Your unwavering dedication to driving global progress in health and development through philanthropy serves as a remarkable inspiration to us all. Your presence amongst us today stands as a testament to your firm belief in the potential of Africa's youth to forge a brighter future. The theme of this forum resonates deeply with our mission at Lagos Business School: to educate, inspire, and empower the next generation of leaders who will drive Africa's economic and social development. We firmly believe that our youth hold the key to unlocking Africa's immense potential in science and innovation. Africa is a continent rich in human capital, brimming with vibrant and talented young individuals, eager to make their mark. They are driven by an unwavering spirit of entrepreneurship, resilience, and creativity. Our duty is to provide them with the necessary tools, knowledge, and platforms to thrive. Science and innovation are catalysts for progress and can serve as powerful vehicles for addressing Africa's most pressing challenges. We must create an enabling ecosystem that nurtures innovation, encourages collaboration, and fosters a culture of research and development. This forum provides an opportunity for youth to engage with thought leaders, industry experts, visionaries like Mr. Bill Gates. Together, we can learn from one another, share insights, and forge meaningful partnerships to accelerate Africa's scientific and technological advancements. Let us remember that innovation knows no boundaries, and the youth at the forefront of disruption, ideas, and groundbreaking solutions. By investing in their talents, providing mentorship, and cultivating a supportive environment, we can unlock the full potential of Africa's youth in science and innovation. I encourage you all to actively participate in the discussions and networking opportunities at this summit. Let us collaborate, think boldly, and co-create actionable strategies that will propel Africa into an era of unparalleled growth and prosperity. Once again, I extend my warmest welcome to each and every one of you. Let us embrace this moment with optimism, determination, and a shared vision for an Africa where our youth are the drivers of scientific breakthroughs, technological advancements, and transformative innovation. Thank you, and I wish you all an enriching and fruitful summit. Without further ado, Mr. Gates, I kindly invite you to come on stage. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you to the Lagos Business School and Co-Creation Hub for hosting me, and to all of you for joining us here, and including those of us joining us online. Because of the pandemic, it's been a long time since I've been in Nigeria. It was all the way back in 2018, and the topic then was directing the country's resources to invest in the future growth. And of course, implicit in that was investing in education and really empower the young generation. And so today, it's very exciting to have a group of young innovators here talk to you about the incredible potential you have to drive this country forward. When I was young, even in my teens, I was thrilled that not only was it fun to write computer code, but I could see that we were creating tools that would improve lives, that would create kind of a digital revolution through the PC, the phone, and the internet, and make life better for people. And that was thrilling to be part of it. And I'm sure you see that opportunity here, that your work can not only be fulfilling for you, but also help the country develop. There's really a lot of opportunity now because of new technologies to improve all the different sectors, you name it, health, education, finance. Now, Nigeria is in some ways a contrast. The challenges I talked about 5 years ago, focusing the finances on investments in the future, having strong finances, having a level of stability economically and in terms of security that allows for long-term investments. Those are challenges. And so even as you do great work, your voice, your influence to drive the policies to use these resources for the future will be very important. When it comes to making the world a better place, talented young people like yourself are the world's most important asset. And that's good news for Nigeria because it has one of the biggest young populations in the world. It's continuing to grow. And that represents, with the right investments, a lot of incredible skills and passion to tackle these tough problems. Yesterday, I had a chance to meet with some very impressive Nigerians who our foundation has been partnering with on health challenges and agricultural challenges. I met scientists who are doing great works with seeds, figuring out how to make the equivalent of fertilizer far less expensive, and really helping farmers raise their productivity quite dramatically, even in the face of climate change, which makes all of agriculture more difficult. I also, in the health sector, went over and saw some great work to help pregnant women. This is an intervention, super impressive, about reducing anemia. And I'm told, although I didn't get to go myself this time, that the LBS Virtual Human-Computer Interaction Lab is a really great thing where a lot of the students are figuring out how virtual and augmented reality can help with a broad set of problems. Well, of course, you know, we're all, when we think about youth, both health and education are important. Nigeria is lucky to have some great educational and research institutions, and those are something to build on. Nigeria, of course, is a hub for venture capital and financial technology. And the world is innovating, and so it'll be a great combination of domestic innovation and global innovation that comes together to improve lives in Nigeria. We can have ambitious goals for reducing infectious disease, including malaria. We can have ambitious goals for improving the health of mothers, getting food to be more nutritious so that all the children in the country achieve their full mental and physical capability. We can give women more options, better contraception, their own financial accounts, many things to empower women. And of course, the latest technology that we're all talking about, and we'll engage, I'm sure, quite a bit in the Q&A today, is how we're going to take AI and use that in positive ways. A lot of talk about the challenges, and that's valid, but you'll hear from me that the opportunity that you have to take these advances and put them into all fields, but particularly health and education, has me very excited. Of course, being here in Nigeria, I can't help but mention the amazing creativity that goes on here. Afrobeats from Nigeria are popular everywhere. When my daughter Phoebe heard I was coming to Nigeria, she said, "Oh, you're lucky you get to go see Burma Boy and Rima." So I had to look them up because I'm so hip. But I also remember the last time I was here, I did get to see Davido and WizKid perform, and I was quite impressed with that. My kids think I've come to a very hip place. And of course, the music may be the most visible, but broadly across all cultural areas, whether it's authors or movies, Nollywood, there's some great work going on. And it's a significant industry, so that, it's great, particularly here in Lagos, to have that leadership. So across many areas, the creativity and entrepreneurship really is why I'm optimistic that despite huge challenges, Nigerians will have a great future and bring wonderful things to the world. Now, talent and determination will be key to reduce the big equity gaps in this country. One example of that is what's going on with the digital financial tools. That's an area our foundation works in places like Kenya and India and many others. We've gotten that digital finance capability out so that women have their own savings account. The fees are very low, very efficient access to government benefit programs. And of course, we're seeing that same phenomena of digital finance take place here. You've got new apps that weren't there a few years ago. They are scaling up. But so far, we haven't managed to get those up to the north. We haven't managed to get them to women. And so there's this rural-urban divide in terms of accessing those tools. And yet, in some ways, the benefits to those who are the poorest are the most profound. And so there's work to do. We've got a foundation, but we have to scale it out to everyone. So that's a great example of keeping in mind reducing inequity, even as we drive very positive innovations. There'll be investments, the quality of the internet connections, the number of agents for cash in, cash out, making sure the digital ID system scales up and is used broadly. Plenty of clear actions that our foundation is proud to partner with entities here to drive those forward. Of course, it's in health that we see the most dramatic gaps, but also in education. If you look across the country, a mother's chance of surviving childbirth or the chance for a child growing up healthy varies quite dramatically. In some Nigerian states, women giving birth have great assistance. If they have challenges, they can get to high quality care. But in many other states, over 90% of the women deliver at home, and if there's challenges, they don't have access to the life-saving care. And so these inequities, the inequities of location, the inequities of gender, these are opportunities to really understand what those are and change them. Education, the women's education varies a lot. In fact, there are states where the majority of women don't have great education. So this is an imperative to take these advances, whether it's digital or AI or anything we're doing, and apply these in health and education. And that's where our foundation has had an opportunity to work with great partners here. And certainly up to the pandemic, we were making great progress, and now we see that progress can resume. And so, AI is going to be used for things like designing malaria drugs. Malaria is a great example where there's not a great market opportunity, and so the normal approach wouldn't prioritize that. But when we put on this lens of inequity, obviously, that's something very important. With AI, our foundation just recently put out a challenge to ask for ideas about using an AI to reduce inequity. And we reached out and got 1,300 proposals, and half of those came from Africa. And my next visit back to the continent, which will be in October in Senegal, we'll have a chance to celebrate the winners of that contest that look very, very promising. And so we can accelerate progress in these key areas. A good example of that is some of the things I got to see yesterday. I was with Dr. Basedi Ofalabi, and she's a professor at the University of Lagos, and she's working on the challenge of anemia in pregnant women. And anemia causes many, many problems. It makes a woman very fatigued, but it also dramatically raises the risk of hemorrhage, prematurity, and actually reduces the brain development for the child. It's very important, even during pregnancy, to have enough iron so that process can get off to a big start. Now, this is an example of a condition that hasn't gotten enough attention from the medical community, but there are some new, even low-cost ideas for it. In the past, anemia was treated by daily vitamins, but that simply doesn't work in moderate anemia or severe anemia. And so the approach that she's piloting is using intravenous administration, where just for one time, for about 15 minutes, sometime in the second trimester, you give this infusion, and what we're seeing is dramatic results. And of course, the anemia is more challenging in some states than others. So these tests and seeing the great impact is not just being done here, also in River State, in Kwara, and in Kano. And so we think that this intervention is low cost enough, and we can train enough healthcare workers that we can get that out very broadly to almost all the women in the country. Another area that's very important is agriculture, and that's why I met with the partners we've been funding, including ITA yesterday. The idea of using biofertilizers so you don't have to buy quite as much fertilizer, but you get the big crop productivity is very, very exciting. The goal here in agriculture is very clear. Africa, including Nigeria, has great land, and there's absolutely no reason that it shouldn't be a net exporter instead of a net importer. And we see the problem that causes, now that with the turmoil in Europe with the Ukraine war, that's driven food prices up to the detriment of Africa, rather than that coming out as an opportunity for greater exports and job creation. And so innovation doesn't just exist in digital and health. By making better seeds, using cell phones to get weather information out, to get advice to farmers about what's going on. Magic seeds plus digital innovation will let us increase agricultural productivity. And that feeds back to nutrition, and that feeds back to health. And that, of course, are those enabling investments along with education that make the youthful generation the incredible asset here. I had a chance on Monday to meet with the newly elected president and encourage him that as resources are being allocated to keep these challenges of inequity in mind. We really do need to drive access to the key building blocks. For example, in health, with the limited budgets, right now there's only $10 spent per person. And yet, even if you just look at sub-Saharan Africa, that's over $30. Now, even at that level, you can do a good job running a primary healthcare system. You can get vaccines out to all the children and make sure they get nutritious food. But, we're not there today, and a lot of finance and organization with that as a priority and good execution will be very key. So our foundation is excited to be here. We've been in Nigeria a long time. I'm always excited about that. We've also been able to work with incredible local partners. When we've done things like malaria eradication, there was a lot, polio eradication. There was a lot of innovation, for example, getting population counts, which was done by satellite photography, or tracking the quality of the campaign. So we've had partners like Selena and HSCL, built up great capabilities. In fact, they used those skills to help out a lot during the COVID challenge. You've got the Society for Family Health that's doing great work, making sure women know about their contraceptive choices and making sure those are available. TechnoServe is here as a partner that helps with the agriculture along with GAIN, which is focused particularly on the food fortification. And so, a lot of amazing work going on, a lot of big challenges. And so I look forward to seeing all the ways that you working together can make life in Nigeria better every year for everyone. Thank you.
I will give him a youthful round of applause, but I think you guys did that already. So we're going to try and get into it. Since 2009, you've been back to Nigeria a few times. You keep coming back. We were having this conversation. Some people thought perhaps you've been coming back for the jollof rice, but at the same time, we thought maybe not. But one thing we would like to know, Bill, is before your next trip or in the next 4 years, what sort of progress would you like to see in the country?
Well, our biggest focus is on the very basic. And, so we track the vaccination rate. Since the turn of the century, the reason that globally childhood deaths have been cut in half is largely because we added new vaccines for pneumonia, for diarrhea, a variety of vaccines, and we were able to drive that vaccine coverage up. And so, you know, our top goal, I'd say, in the country is helping to get the primary healthcare system to execute on that very basic intervention. In fact, you know, I do calls with governors on a fairly regular basis, try and really track where the progress is in terms of the locations, the workers, the supply chain, you know, mothers having the demand for those things. So I have to say, you know, everybody needs to focus on that, but for our foundation, that's very core to our mission. You know, making birth safe, making sure that the child survival rates are much higher, and getting the nutrition so those kids can achieve their potential. We also have ambitious goals. You know, we still have some polio that's come back to the country, and so we work with traditional leaders, the government, with many partners to get that back down to zero. That'll be another great milestone that we're making good progress on that. And so, you know, health, getting some new seeds out, you know, getting the farmers engaged. I got to see BT cowpea and talk to farmers who've seen the increase there. So thank goodness, you know, that's an area of huge innovation. So agricultural and health, a lot of measurement, a lot of opportunity to shift some of the finances towards those high impact areas.
That's interesting. I watched the Netflix series on Inside Bill's Mind, and one of the things you said there was every entrepreneur should have a framework for deciding on what they focus on. You seem to be well invested and interested in literally everything you work on. What sort of framework do you use to decide what's urgent, what's important, what issues you should focus on?
Well, when I was young, you know, I was very lucky to be to computers when they were super expensive. And then I also, you know, looked at what was going on with chip technology. And so the idea that the personal computer and magic software combined with that could really be a fun tool for me to use to get things done, but then more broadly for everyone, you know, that was very motivating. And, you know, so it's a nice match that the thing that I was good at happened to be something where there was both an opportunity to build a big company and to have an impact. And then when I got Microsoft being so successful, I really had to say to myself, okay, these resources, which are gigantic, how am I going to give them back to society? I mean, after all, only a small percentage do I need, you know, to buy cheeseburgers or, you know, a few nice things for my kids, you know, then what? And I asked kind of a basic question, which is how many kids die? What do they die of? You know, it's different in different places. And, you know, I'd been to Africa as part of my Microsoft career, and I'd seen the beauty and the energy, but to find out that the rich versus developing country divide on health was so dramatic, and there was so little resource going into it because, you know, for malaria, it's not like you're going to get rich if you make, you know, great bed nets or even a vaccine. And so Melinda, my wife at the time, and I decided these health issues would be our primary thing. And that's been a learning journey as we've gotten amazing people from all over the world, including a lot from here in Africa, have educated us and, you know, gotten us to go on trips where we see what's working, what's not working. And it's very fulfilling. You know, I have to say in most jobs, it's nice to have two things. It's nice to have every day it's fun because the problems are fun. It's not easy, you know, because you want the challenge, but you make enough progress, you know, we've had vaccines like the HIV vaccine that we've been hopeful for 15 years now that we were on to that, and that one's turned out to be very difficult. We still believe that we're on the verge of it, but, you know, we've had a lot of things like these other vaccines that have gotten out and really had this huge impact. So you feel like in the long run, you're doing good things, but also you feel like you're engaging your unique skills, and it's really fun work. So I have that wonderful combination that I had in my software career, now I have in my foundation career.
That's profound. So you're working on unique things, but you're applying your skill sets as well on something that is important.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, my one skill is organizing teams of innovators. And you need people who understand policy, and in our case, biology and drug trials and making things cheap. And it's amazing. If you get those groups working together, it's always magical. And I had very high quality teams. Now at the foundation, we've got great people all over the world, including a really great office here in Nigeria.
Fantastic, thank you, Bill. We've got people watching online, but also I think a few people in the room would like to ask you questions. So I think we'll go straight into it. Can we have Nenna? Nenna should be somewhere in the room. So you need to come up to the mic in the middle and ask your question. I think the question Nenna is going to ask, if I understand, is actually quite linked to what you talked about. So.
Thank you. So my name is Nenna Nick Obiegu. I'm from the Lagos Business School. So my question is, how can we young people in emerging economies like Nigeria, for instance, balance the pursuit of profit with the goal of making positive social and environmental impact?
Sustainability, how do you focus on impact, but at the same time drive profitability of your business as well?
Yeah, so in terms of climate change, the huge amount of carbon and other greenhouse gases that have been put into the atmosphere really have come from the rich countries and the middle income countries. And so it's imperative that those countries very quickly do whatever it takes to get rid of their emissions, but also, equally importantly, they have to innovate so that when they come to countries like Nigeria, India, and say, okay, you shouldn't make steel the old way or cement the old way, that they've innovated so that the new green approach is not a higher cost. We're not there today, but over the time since the Paris Agreement in 2015, we've made a lot of progress. And so, I have companies in breakthrough energy that look at new ways of making cement. And, so I'll, as those get to be low cost, I'll go to people like Dangote Cement and say, okay, how can we bring this now that we've shown that it works without asking people to pay more? How do we scale that out? And, between now and 2050, what we're trying to achieve is pretty incredible. I'd say, if you look locally, there are, sustainability issues. We have that in agriculture, where if you overuse fertilizer, you end up degrading the land, and you want to, take a long-term approach, even knowing that the higher temperatures are going to make that difficult. So this generation grew up with an environmental consciousness that wasn't present. We talk about the second green revolution. The first one raised particularly Asian crop productivity dramatically. The second one has got to also do that for African crops and ecosystems, but it's got to do it at the same time as it's reducing emissions and looking at sustainability, so the rivers don't get so much fertilizer that you're destroying those ecosystems. And so it's a little bit of a constraint, but with the pace of innovation, I feel we can drive that.
But for a young person who is just starting out and they're thinking, I'm going to build this business, I want to make impact, but I've got to generate revenue as well. How do they balance that?
So, my basic view is follow your passion. I mean, honestly, it doesn't have to be seeds or health. If you have something that you're good at, you're creative, you're a good marketing person, that's great. And in the business you're in, you can encourage them to take whatever strengths they have and apply it in the right way. You also have the time you volunteer. Over time, as you're successful, you'll be able to do giving. And I'd say in this country, the political voice of the youth is super important because it's too easy to not shift the resources and even increase through additional access, increase the resources and get these investments in infrastructure, health, and education. The idea of, the youth know they are going to be around 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Their kids will be growing up, and will the health and education foundation be there? And so you don't have to go into, as your full-time job immediately, something like that. As you're going through your career progression, if you're great at policy, if you're great at marketing management, hopefully part of that career rotation will include organization that's primarily focused on inequity. But I wouldn't make that a selection criteria. If whatever you're good at and you love doing, educate yourself deeply and make a contribution in that space. And the path to impact will reveal itself.
At this point, we're going to go to a question online. Bill, maybe you want to say hi to the folks watching on the internet. And there's a question from Daniel from Nairobi. And the question is it possible for artificial intelligence to narrow the accessibility gap in education and learning?
Is it possible?
Is it possible for artificial intelligence to narrow the gap in education and learning?
I'd say yes and no. So, as a motivated student myself, where I love to learn things, as the internet has had things like Wikipedia and YouTube and just so many amazing resources, whenever I want to understand, okay, what is fertilizer? How does it work? Why is it expensive? I can go out and get educated, and that's true of math and history and so many things. Now with the AI, it's even better. They literally let you have a debate with Newton about, why this happened, and they can summarize really complex things in a simple way, like you can say, explain quantum to a sixth grader, and it does a very good job. So we've taken the tools, the education tools, for the motivated person to a whole new level. And, that probably fits almost everybody here. In general, in education, though, a lot of it is giving kids confidence and meeting them at their level. Okay, you think math is boring. You don't see how math connects to your life in the future. And that's the role of the teacher who has to engage. And so we can help teachers. We can, correct the homework automatically. We can, create sort of personalized sets of questions for students. But when it comes to that motivation, when kids get discouraged or confused, we still, and we'll try and do some of that with the AI. But as of right now, for the typical student who isn't just going to go out and teach themselves, it's a combination of all this amazing material plus investing in the teachers.
The field is growing rapidly. AI is moving so fast. How do you think we should be approaching the future of it? What should governments be doing? What should technology companies be positioning for? I think the pace is so fast that no one is sure of what's the best way to.
No, you're absolutely right. It does compare to, say, around the year 2000, where with the internet, any company that had the name internet into it, it's like, wow, we have to buy their stock and they'll probably figure something out. And then later, a lot of good things did come out of that. Online shopping with people like Amazon and all these great resources. But there was a naivete about which services would be very good, and old sophisticators had to be invested. I'd say this AI gold rush, which kind of kicked off late last year when ChatGPT-4 from OpenAI came out, where for the first time people could say, wow, these things can read and they can write, and they're amazingly good, but sometimes they're wrong. Although we're trying to fix that. And so, yes, we're all kind of in a surprised. And I would say in AI, it's important to remember there's kind of two strands. There's the AI, which is often called robotics, where manual labor, driving, picking fruit, construction, all of that, there's work going on. And that's gradually improving. It's not in the mainstream yet, but watch, over the next 5 to 10 years, those robots will get better and cheaper, and that'll be a big deal. But the one that is really unexpected, even a year ago, including me, was this, what I call white collar breakthrough, where, if you're writing code today, if you're not using Copilot to help you do that, you're falling behind, because most developers find that once they're good at using that, it's improving their productivity at least 30%, because it's helping out so much. We're not only generating the code, but the tests and a variety of things. And so, we also see that in other white-collar jobs, where you can say, take this Word document and make a 3-page slide presentation, which would have taken a long time. Now, it doesn't do the final work. Some of the quality is not very good, and sometimes it just makes stuff up. But it is a gigantic productivity aid in white-collar work, and that was not expected. Well, there were a few people who did, but now it's an opportunity to take that and use it in every domain of sort of knowledge work.
So talking about productivity, which is one thing that across Africa, governments is grappling with, trying to raise productivity across sectors. Shouldn't we be investing in AI research on the continent, specifically to understand how it can be applied?
Well, in general, in Africa and in the entire world, it'd be hard to overinvest at AI at this point. And that includes just taking the AI that's there and saying, hey, how do we make government bureaucracy quicker?
Yes.
Can we approve applications like twice as fast as we do? Because even though it's tough to hire workers, this bureaucratic things, it's really good at this, like dealing with medical claims or taxes or things like that. So the biggest win won't necessarily be being part of the invention, although every continent will contribute to that. The big win will be part of the application. You can just imagine how big that is, particularly in places where you have a shortage of white-collar workers. The government is not as well staffed on some of these issues, but now they can be, and they can be way more efficient. Your educational experience, like if you're writing, you want feedback on your writing, the AI is really good at that. It's kind of amazing to me still, even though I've had 8 months to get used to the idea. When I use it, I'm still like, wow, that really is something. So yes, we need AI capability here in Africa. We need AI experts here in Africa. We need to adapt to African languages. In health, the challenges of health in Africa are very different, so we need the data sets that go in. So if you can't get to a doctor, which many Africans can't, and you're talking to it in your native language, its ability to diagnose, that's dengue, that's yellow fever, that's malaria. We're not just going to take some, U.S. medical thing and be able to apply that.
Thank you for that. Shall we go back to the audience? Eniola, do we have Eniola in the room? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eniola from Lagos Business School. So there has been a trend of people learning tech skills, innovative skills, and leaving the country, like the continent, for greener pasture, perhaps within 2 years or maybe even 1. So my question is, at what point does Africa learn to, stop feeding other continents and then making use of its own human capital in tech? Thank you.
So we've seen massive interest. I knew that was going to cause. We've seen significant interest in young people wanting to become software engineer. But on the other side, there's also the flight of talent from the continent.
No, this is a very important topic. When I was in Kenya late last year, I went to the Microsoft lab there. And then this week, I got to go to the Microsoft Development Lab here in Lagos. And I'm, very impressed both how they're contributing to the global work and bringing an understanding of particular challenges here. In a sense, people leaving is a good thing if you up the amount of training you're doing. So you say, okay, some of our doctors can go get a very high salary in the UK or the US. Some of them will pay to their family broadly, and some of them will return. Many of these doctors I'm working on innovative work spent some time up in the UK or the US, and that's just part of their training. So having a big diaspora that includes people coming back into business, into government, that's a very healthy thing. There are some cases where if like your medical education was subsidized by the government, you almost wish that a little bit of that resource you get overseas would help the government increase the training, because otherwise we see today a significant shortage in some of those skills. But I'm not someone who believes that no one should go away or that blocking that completely, that's a healthy thing. I mean, certainly India and China, and I'd say Nigeria's third on this list, this idea that people go away and do great work, but then they come back. If you get that in balance and figure out the education funding piece of that, that is a super healthy thing in computer science, in health, in business and other areas.
So with good intention, it's actually a good thing to do to export talent. That's what we hear. I think we'll take one last question from the audience. Ijeweme, do we have Ijeweme in the room?
Good morning. My question is around regulation and policy. So non-state actors, businesses, NGOs, we know the impact that government regulation can have on your business or whatever you're doing. So imagine you had a magic wand and you could determine public policy in Africa, just one policy. What would that one policy be that would have the most impact and unleash the potential of youth in Africa?
Well, I'm not a Nigerian voter, so you can take this and apply your much deeper experience. But there is a challenge if historically you feel like, okay, some of the money we pay in taxes is not well used. And as a result, you're like, let's not have more taxes because it'll just not have an impact. And so you almost get an equilibrium that people say, okay, I don't expect much, but at least I don't have to pay much. But when it comes to a certain level of education opportunity, and of course Lagos State collects way more taxes. I mean, Lagos is advantaged economically relative to the rest of the country, but I do think the government has to commit, hey, we are going to do better in health and education. And in return for that, as we're shifting, some subsidies, part of that is going to be getting up to a level that, really is an investment in the next generation, justice, infrastructure, but the two that I know the best are health and education. And then, of course, because the agricultural sector actually has positive returns, that's less, there is some investment in the seed research there, but as a percentage of the budget, that improves, it can actually generate taxes. The two big expenditure areas are health and education. So, I would hope that you would say, look, we're going to help government do really well in these policies. Some of us are going to go spend time working in government, and even though that can be challenging. So I'd say it's the level of investment and the belief that those systems can be run very well, that we see that sometimes, and it's really a fantastic thing. There's plenty of specific things about vaccine coverage or all that, but I'd say if you really zoom out, it's to take a leap of faith that these investments will pay off and get them funded.
Fantastic. So investment, but also participation of the smartest people around the table.
Well, this generation gets to speak out, Yeah. Are you happy with the health, the education, the way the money goes, If the money's not going to great things, hey, get on top of that.
Yeah, we're out of time, Bill, but the last time you came, you left a profound message for our leaders around how they need to unlock opportunities for young people. Now we have a lot of young, creative, talented people trying to forge a better future for the country. What's going to be the message from you this time on how we can better support them to help lift the nation up?
Well, I bring a sense of optimism. You're going to have a lot of local innovation. You're going to have a lot of magical innovation from the world at large, whether it's digital finance, better seeds, AI, new vaccines. I mean, this is phenomenal stuff. And these things don't have to be expensive. We've shown we can always get vaccines down to $1. Even this AI stuff, there's a little bit of shortage of back-end capacity, but so much is being done to raise the capacity and make it more efficient, come up with new chips. So fortunately, AI is going to be like cell phones, where there isn't some, decade-long thing that only a few people have it. AI, over the next 5 years, is going to be, every farmer who has a question about, what's this disease, or how soon should I plant, which crop should I do this year, they're going to have an AI assistant that's drawing on an immense amount of data. And so that's one where the opportunity to fight the inequity is there. And so I think this is an exciting time to be a young Nigerian. And I look forward to seeing what they can do.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Gates. Bill, I've been asked to take a selfie with you in the crowd, if you don't mind. If you stand on that side, you have to take the picture if you stand there, so I'll ask you to move that way. Thank you so much.
The timer on?
The timer is on.
Yeah, the timer on.
Who wants to join? So we're going on 5. Yeah? Come on in, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Fun.
So I'll encourage we go back to our seats. The event is not over. We're going to have some panelists coming on stage shortly. Thank you so much. And I think on that note, as we move the chairs around, can I have Preston Ide from CS join us on stage? Preston. Do we have Tosin Olashainde in the room as well? Tosin? And last but not the least, come on stage. Guys, I think we need 2 more chairs. Last but not the least, Ife Oluwa Dari Johnson. Ife? Preston, you know what we do? You and I will stand for a while we wait for the chair. We'll let the ladies sit. We also need the mic as well. The biggest man is out of the room, so I think we're not getting attention. Guys, can someone help from behind? We need mic on stage.
You can just take one of these 2 chairs.
Do you want to take it? Do you want to take it? Rofem, can we have one of the chairs then? I think it's always exciting to learn so much from people who have impacted our society and world in really strong, positive ways. But I think even as we figure out how to move our society forward, we also must recognize the uniqueness of Nigeria as a place and Africa as well, which is why I think it's also important that we always bring local voices into this conversation, because today's conversation is extremely important. It's not just a 45-minute show. This conversation is what will shape perceptions around the things that are important for us as a people and how we move our society forward. So we thought it would be great to bring in these fantastic individuals. I won't go into further details on what they do. I'll just call on them to kick us off. And the first question, which will go to Tosin, and all of you guys will have to answer the same question actually. Tosin, is tell us about what you do and why you've chosen this particular challenge to fix. Why do you think it's important? Tosin.
Good morning, House. My name is Oluwatosin Olasende. I'm the founder of Money Africa. We have one mission. We're educating about financial literacy. Why are we passionate about this? Based on research, a financial literate person has a better chance towards better education, better healthcare, amongst others. So we're breaking it down in simple forms and letting people take advantage of it. Let me give you a quick example. I fell sick in 2021 and I was in hospital for 8 months. We spent 15 million naira and not one kobo came out of my pocket because I had a health insurance. We want to be able to educate people why they need to be financially literate and get the right tools to be able to maximize it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Literacy, a round of applause for her. Literacy. Literacy, but financial literacy unlock quality of life for so many people. You may not link them together, but these things are linked. Let's go to you, Preston. Tell us about what you do and why.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Preston Ide. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Stairs. Some of you may know us from the elections, but we do a lot more. I think I like to talk about Stairs from the perspective of the problem that we're solving. And most people agree that African economies have a lot of growth potential. And over the next 2 decades, we expect to see a lot more investment come to the continent. We expect to see a lot more spending. However, one thing that we notice is for these investors, for these operators who want to come from outside Africa or even within Africa, access to high quality data that helps inform their decision making is very difficult. Lots of organizations spend a lot of money collecting, analyzing, rereading data, and they still don't trust the answers that they get. So that's where Stairs comes in. For global organizations trying to make investment decisions, whether financial or operational, Stairs is that data and insights partner that allows them to make more accurate decisions. And unlike most data companies, we don't just offer data, we also make sure we provide the context and the insight to allow them understand it and eventually make high quality decisions. So yeah, that's a summary of...
So data for prosperity, right? A round of applause for trusting, Preston. And last but not the least, we come to you, Ife. What do you do?
Hi, everyone. So I run a company called Health Tracker. And basically what we're trying to do is democratize access to healthcare services. We all agree that, health is true wealth, right? But one of the things that led me to that was when I lost my own dad to an illness that could easily have been treated if it was detected early. But that was not even the insight that I got there. I realized very quickly that all of us, despite the fact that we're younger, we're more educated, we're more exposed, we're still towing the same line. We're literally waiting until something happens before we seek healthcare. And that's basically, why we started Health Tracker. So what we do is we offer a platform that allows people to have on-demand health screenings, virtual doctor's consultation, vaccinations, medications delivered at home. Earlier this year, we launched an HPV self-sampling kit that allow women to screen for cervical cancer at home. We're launching a lot more as well this year, but the point is, can we bring the healthcare closer to the people? We've brought financial services closer to the people. We've done e-commerce. Everything is at our fingertips, apart from healthcare. So it is time that people like me, like you, everyone can easily get the healthcare that they deserve. Most people are pre-diabetic, they have no idea. Most people are pre-hypertensive, they have no idea. Then once you clock 40, you begin to see the signs. Can we ensure that we reverse that rise in non-communicable diseases that WHO is predicting that will be more than communicable diseases in Africa? That's what we do.
Fantastic. A round of applause for that. If I'll stay with you. Healthcare literally should be a right. It's something everyone should have access to. Quality healthcare, not just healthcare. And I know that yourself and a number of people in Nigeria, but also on the continent, have been hacking this away, trying to find interesting way to make it more accessible. What are some of the challenges that you think you face at the minute, both you as a company, but also the health technology space on the continent to scale? I think to scale your solution to actually reach everyone that needs to be reached.
Absolutely. So number one would be education. So I always joke around how, there is financial literacy, but we have so little health literacy. That was one of the assumptions we made. We assumed that people understood that if you need to do a prostate cancer screening, that nobody's going to screen you down there. It is a blood test, but apparently that's not mainstream. So as simple as education sounds, we do not know enough about our bodies to make a decision. Again, it is not something that Health Tracker alone can solve. It's something that needs to be a lot more collaborative because it requires a bit of investment. On the other hand of it is, what I mentioned, which is collaboration. Our healthcare system is in a deplorable state right now, which means there's a lot of infrastructure deficit that happens. So when you're taking a stab at one part of the problem, you realize you cannot afford to stay on one end of it. So which also means that most people can't build depth in one thing. You have to add other things, right? Just so that you can scale at some point. Another thing would be just the fact that everywhere in the world, the private sector alone has never had to fix healthcare. It has always been a collaboration between public and private. Unfortunately, the spend on public, on our health in Nigeria is not so great. So you have that shortfall, and private organizations, have to kind of work over time to get that working. So it affects pricing, it affects accessibility. My team, we were somewhere in Kaduna the other day and realized that in that space, there is literally no good hospital there, right? So when a mother who is pregnant needs a simple test, would need to travel to the neighboring city, right? So again, these are fundamental issues, right? Like we have operations there, but then that medical professional needs to travel, far and wide to actually just get simple healthcare to the people, right? Again, this is not, one health tech company's problem to solve. We need everybody to band together, especially with the government. So those are some of the problems that,
So borrowing from the startup world, there's a need for an ecosystem for the health space to actually fix the problem. It's interesting. Also interesting, you talked about education. Right, Tosin, education is not just what people think it is. You go to school, you learn math and English. Education is everywhere. What are some of the barriers that you're seeing in being able to get people to learn about financial literacy?
I think my favorite example is this. Let's look at the betting companies. the chance of you winning the lottery is like, it's higher, it's slimmer than the chance of you getting struck by lightning. But guess what the betting companies do? Once they have one winner, they make so much noise about it and give people the hope that, they're going to win it. And the chances are very slim. But building wealth in the long run is more sustainable. Are we making enough buzz about it? So we need more people telling real stories. Initially, I didn't want to tell my story of, oh my gosh, I had to get a health insurance, I was in hospital, but it's a real life story. So we just need more people coming out there. How did I build wealth in the long run? How did I stay on? People need to get comfortable with the fact that building wealth is actually slow. And we just need to be able to keep educating. And when we're doing this education, we're not just targeting white collar, we're targeting everybody. Are you a stylist? You need it. Are you a bus conductor? You need it. So as long as you earn an income, you need to know how that money will work for you. So yeah.
That's insightful, thank you. Preston, for more people like this to build, we know they need data and insights, right? What are some of the challenges that you're facing to be that intelligence organization that is supporting?
Yeah, I will group it into three different issues. The first is infrastructure, the second is talent, and the last, ironically, is education. And when it comes to infrastructure, what you find is there's still a big gap in terms of the available infrastructure to enable accurate collection of data. And we're talking about both digital infrastructure and sort of physical infrastructure. So, it's easier for data companies to work in an environment where there is a robust sort of, statistics database, right? Where the relevant statistics offices have a lot of coverage of the sort of broader economy or the broader continent. And here it's a lot more difficult. So there's so many data points that we're still learning to collect, and we're still learning to collect accurately, because it's relatively easier to collect data in an urban city like Lagos, but when you go to certain parts of Nigeria, it's very difficult to understand what's really going on. And so that means we have to be more innovative and more creative in how we collect data. We have to use proxy data sets. We have to estimate, and we have to do a lot more work to actually even sometimes create the data from historical data where you don't have the current one. I think the second is talent, because it's interesting, the conversation that happened earlier, because we happen to be one of those industries that is easily transformed by artificial intelligence, right? The ability to access all that data and basically train your models, train your tools to be able to use it to answer questions, because that's what we do with data, we answer questions, right? That's still a very big need, and of course, in growing ecosystems like ours, we need to attract the right kind of talent. That's on sort of technical or software side. But even on the other side, we're constantly looking for more and more experts who can inform us about parts of our country, part of our continent that we don't really understand, right? And the last part of it is education, because when you collect data, you need to communicate it, you need to share it with people in a way that they understand, right? And it's easy to say, data visualization or data dissemination, but we've had a lot of experience with people like misreading data or sort of not reading between the lines. So a lot of data comes out, right? And the way numbers are used publicly, someone says 20% of this is that, and people just carry that, and so we end up being misinformed. So I think educating people in the right way, making sure the data works for them. We're unique in that we started off from B2C and have now sort of moved over to B2B. So we learned a lot about communicating with end users in a very simple way, and that's proving very useful for us as we work more with organizations.
That's brilliant, thanks for sharing that. I think one last question for the three of you guys. Moments like this are important. They're not just someone big coming on stage. This moment influence the direction of support, but also the direction of the ecosystem as well. But there's that question, we don't have to always wait for when we see people like this who actually truly understand and appreciate the power of the young people on the continent. What would be a recommendation for those who run societies, for industry leaders, for folks like myself who is leading CCO, in terms of what we can do better to mainstream and support more people like yourself to build for prosperity?
I'm happy to go first. I think, it's actually one word for me, it's communication. I think that is the biggest, most impactful one, because the leaders need to be talking to the young people to understand their problems and eventually solve them. I think there's a lot more active listening that should be happening. And I mean, that is happening, but even more of it is needed to understand the sort of nuanced problem, because young people face a whole host of issues, and the issues our generation facing, our demographic, we're very different from the ones that, demographics that came before us are facing. So it's really important to understand those problems by talking to people, understand where do you need support. I personally think that if you want to support someone, as opposed to taking the view that you know what they need and just giving to them, you should ask them what they need and then support. So I think if we can continue to invest in that gap, in that communication gap, then we will have a significantly stronger ecosystem and better collaboration between generations.
Thank you for that, Tosin.
I would say creating an enabling environment for them to thrive, right? Like, so for instance, the government agencies are sitting down on a lot of data that can be very useful to us, right? And just basically supporting us for us to be able to use that data, giving us access. So those are some of the things. So it does not necessarily have to be funding. There are certain things that funding cannot do, like access, opening the doors, giving us the gateway, helping us to reach places that we will not be able to reach. Let me give you an instance. We're currently working on a project on how to educate market women about money. So now we have to go to the market, look for the leaders, do all of that. These are things that the local government could actually have access to. How can we help? How can you help us to be able to disseminate this data and help us, reach them? Yeah.
So government and leaders as enabler. It's not just about money. I think that's quite
Yes, so mine would be around access and collaboration, which both of them have spoken about, right? I remember that I once spoke to you when we launched the kit, and you introduced me to Naima, right? Again, some of these collaborations, most times for younger entrepreneurs, they have not built the network, they don't have the right access to what can change their business, really, right? And this is where the older folks in the industry comes in, where you're able to then say, you know what, you don't have to go through the loops. I know exactly who can help you here, right? And that's what we all need, really. It's sometimes not just money, right? We always say that the best money is the customer's money. We will even scale faster if we know the right people, if we're collaborating with the right people, if we're collaborating with the right set of communities, right? It would even help our business model, right? Again, Yoruba people will say, what an elder sees sitting down. A young person cannot see while you're even standing on, I don't know, the tallest building in the world. There's some things that come with experience, and I think, that's where his own view about communication comes into play, because when you speak to this, you realize, why are you suffering? I know someone who can just solve this, yeah.
That's right. Thank you so much, guys. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you for your time, guys. Thank you. Oh, yeah. They want a selfie, so you guys have to stand up. But we don't have the selfie stick, so who's gonna use your phone? Okay, let's do it. Do you mind? you don't seem to have a choice. And there's going to be one last thing. Please don't leave. There's been a lot of talks around education in the room today, as you can imagine. So we have one more insightful talk, which is coming from Lagos Business School, which is a school that we're very proud of. So we're going to call on Dr. Henrietta Ongweze. Did I try? Was it fair enough? Doctor, come on stage. So Doctor is going to talk to us briefly, about entrepreneurship, right? The importance of being purpose-driven, but also developing management skills. Please come on stage, Doctor. If we're going to scale entrepreneurship thinking, we do need people like yourself helping us shape the direction, but also how we think about it. Over to you, Doc.
All right, so good morning, everyone. And this is always been long. I know that when you hear, it's all forever, but it's not going to be that this time around. But I think today has been really enlightening. And I actually like the fact that the panel that spoke before me actually are going to be like my case studies of what I'm going to say to you very briefly, and I hope you take a lot from it. So, if we notice, everybody here is solving a problem. And many times We see Nigerians, I mean, like, as the questions alluded, everybody's going out to greener pastures. But do you also realize that a lot of people are rushing in? And that's because they see the opportunities that many of us are not seeing. We see the problems, but what we don't know is that each of those problems are opportunities. Okay, every problem is a potentially profitable business opportunity. And I'd like I've forgotten her name, and Tosin to tell us, are you guys making money? Good, so that answers the question that you asked. How do you focus on impact and make money at the same time? Actually, the two are very compatible. Impact drives profit. Because each of them are providing a real solution, are catering to a real need, people are willing to pay for solutions to their problems. And indeed, being purpose-driven is the key to being both profitable and sustainable. The reason why many businesses die is because people just think, where can I make money? Rather than, what problem can I solve? Okay? Nobody tells you to get a pair of glasses, or to wear clothes, or to buy shoes, or to get a mobile phone. You go for all these things because you need them. Okay? So every problem creates a need. I was recently speaking with one of my executive MBA students, and it was a really amusing conversation because she was telling me how she makes money from creating problems and providing the solutions. So the solutions she sells, and she's making a lot of money. She makes millions weekly, okay? The solutions she's selling, she's the only provider in the world because she designs an outfit. She creates some accessory that she has created herself. And so people want to get it. And she's the only person who's making them. So she's making the money. Okay, she has fashion classes online, okay, which means that you can join at any point in time. She makes them cheap enough, 15,000, 25,000. People join, and she's making money while she's sleeping. Okay, so it's really about being creative. What can help people? Of course, people join because once they learn how to sew, they begin to make money from making outfits for clients. So she's not just making money by being smart, she's making money from providing value, okay? So, the other thing I was thinking of talking to you about is how to maintain that business that you've started. Many of you here, in fact, Nigeria has actually, Nigerian fintech, and in fact, the African fintech industry has gone way ahead of the European or American fintech industry because we had unsolved problems. They had a financial system that was working, so there was no trigger to, push them forward. But we had a system that was broken, and so there was that trigger to make it go forward. And so we're doing pretty well. But the point is, no one person has, what's his name again? What's John Maxwell says, no one person does something great. For you to do something great for a long time, you need a team, which means you need to build your management skills. And that's why the second part of my talk is developing management skills. Okay? You need to know how to manage people. I was very happy that I keep forgetting the name of the third speaker, the health speaker. February, yeah. She said, and the other guy said, we need people to listen to us. We need people to work with us, share the benefit of the experience with us. That's what you get when you have a good team. And in today's world, that team has to be multi-generational. When I speak to executives at the school, I make it clear to them that gone are the days where everybody in the management team is aged and really old and very knowledgeable. If you don't have young people in your management team today, you're going to be a dinosaur sooner than later. Similarly, for the young guys who are doing very well, you have identified opportunities, you're making money right now. If you're going to make that money for a long time, you need to get some older people on board who can help you, move in a safer way, help you get access to the resources you don't have or contacts that you need to help you grow faster and better. You also need to know how to manage people. Okay? It's very different from managing resources. Companies like Telnet, when they just started, were very good at training engineers and getting them to come up with great ideas. But very soon, as they grew, and started getting layers of people, realized that, hey, engineers don't know how to manage people. They know how to manage resources and things and machines, but not people. So you're going to get to that roadblock sooner than later. And so it's key that you try to find a way. In fact, I teach entrepreneurship at the school, and I know there's a parallel economy going on of young people making a lot of money because of their tech skills, but they need management skills. So we're very, very happy, and I'm not marketing the school in any way, shape, or form. I'm just very passionate about seeing a better Nigeria. To have some of you come together, create a forum where we can actually strengthen your management skills, because you're doing great, you're doing extremely well. And I tell my EMBAs that, look, the young generation are shaming us, the older people, because they're actually addressing the problems while older people are looking for bigger jobs, bigger pay, and leaving the country the way it is. Okay, so, and let me also tell you that the change you want to see many times comes more from the office of the citizen than from the office of the president. Obviously, we need government to do a couple of things, but we can't wait for them. If Mandela waited for apartheid to change in South Africa, perhaps apartheid will still be on. Apartheid changed because the people, led by Mandela, moved. And that's the same way Nigeria will change, because you young people who are already moving are going to keep moving. So our role here is to strengthen your movements. Okay, so I'll just end with 4 key things you need to have for business success, whether you're entrepreneurs. And by the way, there's a strong difference between being an entrepreneur and a business owner. Business owners are looking for ways to make money. Entrepreneurs make money, but there are 2 other things that they do that help for you to distinguish between them and business owners, and that's what also makes them make more money than business owners. Entrepreneurs are solution providers. In other words, they identify problems like the 3 speakers we saw here. They commercialize, of course, and then they are continuously improving on their solutions. And that's what keeps them going, okay? So the 4 things you need to keep in mind if you're going to be successful for the long haul are the following. First, skills. Be the best at what you do, okay? Many of you are doing very well, but you can always be better. So keep training yourself, keep honing your skills, okay? So that you're the one everybody wants to go to, okay? You see how people travel from far and wide. I mean, Larry da Silva is, Larry, what's the name of the designer? LDA? Yeah, Larry da Silva Ajayi, yeah, she's a good friend. The minute she made the dress Tiwa Savage used for the coronation, everybody started running to her. There are other designers all around, but people want the best for themselves. Okay, so be the go-to person in your field. Okay. Second, values, soft skills. You have to have your boundaries, things that you will do, things you will never do. Okay, I will be honest, because that is your biggest competitive advantage. I think it was what's his name now, Jack Welch, who said, from my experience of running business, I see 3 key things necessary before I engage anybody. The first is positive energy, ability to execute. The second is integrity. And I think the third, execution, and the ability to work with other people, okay? The third was positive energy, yeah, ability to execute, and integrity, good. Positive energy meaning that people who work with you are happy. There are people who are very good, but they kill all the energy around them, yeah? Those people he doesn't engage, because they will destroy your organization. If you're a naive person, you'll be happy they're meeting the numbers, but they've killed your organization, they've made you more vulnerable. The day they go, that's the end of you. So anyway, he says, of these 3 things, the most important is integrity. If you lack integrity, everything else is useless. So no matter how tempting it is, don't compromise on your integrity, please. So values, kindness. You don't need to be nasty to be effective with people. Be good to people, starting with your staff, okay? If you're good to your staff, the business becomes like their own, okay? So whether you're there or not, Tosin was saying she was ill for 8 months, but her business didn't die, which means you must have a very strong team, okay? Humility allows you to listen. Nobody knows it all. 2 eyes are always better than one, and then at the end of the day, none of us is as good as all of us. We need each other. So if you're a kind person and if you listen, you find yourself avoiding booby traps that are all over the place, okay? What else in terms of values? Okay, so integrity, kindness, loyalty. During COVID, everybody talks about employee loyalty. What about employer loyalty? What happened during COVID? So many people laid off their staff without thinking about how they would survive. And the boss tends to have more money than everybody else. So how come you're not thinking about the people you pay 50,000, 25,000? How will they don't have any buffer? Okay, so when things are hard, come together as a team and think together about solutions. Don't just focus on yourself alone. So values are important, okay? What are those things I must never do? I will not steal, I will not cheat, etc. And then the value you offer. What problem are you solving? If you're just in something to make money at all costs, I mean, we're seeing how humiliating it is for people who have appeared on the page of Forbes to next day be described as criminals, having deceived people. I mean, that's terrible, okay? So make sure you're offering genuine value, because if your value is authentic, no matter how slow your rise is, it is slow but sure. It will come, okay? And the third thing, character. Soft issue again, attitude. How are you with stakeholders, whether it's suppliers, customers, staff? It can be pleasant. Now, what binds all these things together? Your skills, your values, the value you offer, your character, spirituality. It doesn't matter that the Western world ignores spirituality. It is true that spirituality has been abused in Nigeria, but genuine spirituality is important for you to be consistent in maintaining your values in the face of challenges or temptation. Okay, in keeping your steady character, keeping your character pleasant, not being unexploitative, okay, because you have a conscience that tells you this is right or this is wrong. Okay, so those 4 things form the foundation of business success. If we keep this in mind, no matter what field we embark on, so long as we're looking to solve a genuine problem, and so long as we're looking to keep improving our skills, okay, and work with collaborators, you're sure to make it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the round of applause for Dr. I think at this point is really to appreciate each and every one of you guys for taking out the time to join us and staying till the end. This is where we draw the curtain. For me, what I take out of this is that our future is bright. It will take us being intentional. And we do have people who truly can put Nigeria on the path that it deserves to be, but also people who can truly put Africa on the path that it deserves to be. So on this note, I'll encourage you guys to move to the room next door. There's opportunity for networking. There are interesting people that you need to meet. We heard from the last panel that this is about communication. So, if you want to really get up to doing what you want to do and you need all the support in the world, if you don't talk to people, it's going to be hard. So let's move to the room next door for networking opportunities, but also for those of you who want to take pictures, there'll be opportunity to take pictures in that room. And I think there's also games and some sort of exhibition that is going on there as well. Without further ado, we thank all of you guys for turning up. Thank you. Safe travel back home. Thank you.